Hello there. In the previous session, we have used the SDCA maximum entropy for the sentimental analysis. In this session, we will use the OneVersusAll method. OneVersusAll create a binary model for each multiple output classes. Prediction is performed by running those binary classifiers and choosing the prediction within the highest confidence score. See, we have the classification problem and there are 5 distinct classes. So OneVersusAll classifier method involve the training for the 5 distinct binary classifier and each designed for the recognizing a particular class. Then those 5 classifier collectively used for multi-class classifier. So we need to train the 5 binary classifier instead of the just one. For this example, we will use this dataset. I have generated it randomly, so might be accuracy of this model will be less comparatively. First column is label and we have 8 different features. It's value between the -1 to the 1 and we have the 100 records in the dataset. Let's switch to our Visual Studio. Here I have placed the same dataset and created the input model. Within that I have added the property for the label and features. Note that I have not created here 8 individual properties. Instead, I have created an array and in the load column attribute pass the array that contains the index of all of those fields and use the vector type attribute to specify that it's a vector kind and specify the length of this array. This would be useful when your dataset has lots of fields of the similar kind and you don't want to perform any major operation on those data. In the result model, we have the single property, that is prediction level. Here I don't want to check the score, so I have not added that field. Instead, I want to obtain the label, therefore I have inherited it from the input model. When we transform the data view using the model, it executes the pipeline. So we got the column that defined in the pipeline in the result. So here we will get the value for the label as well as the feature column. In the demo, I have loaded the data from the CSV file. Here I have passed the one for the seed parameter for the ML context. ML.NET use this seed parameter for the various operations based on the randomness, just like the shuffling data or something else. Note that this parameter does not impact the prediction. Basically, we does not need it for this example. I have just used to show you how we can pass it. In this example, I will transform the test dataset instead of performing the prediction on it. So let me split the dataset using the train test split method. Test fraction will be 0.02. As we know, OneVersusAll work on some binary classifier, so we need to create a binary trainer first. For this, I am going to use the SDCA logistic regression. You can also use the different algorithm too. Now I am going to create a pipeline for the OneVersusAll. Like the previous session, we need to convert the label into the key for the further operation. Use the map value to key method and append the multi-class classifier for the OneVersusAll. It will take the binary estimator as a parameter. Here our pipeline is created. Let's create a model by fitting the training dataset into the pipeline. For this example, I am going to use the transform method to execute the pipeline on the entire data view, instead of performing the prediction for the single record using the prediction engine. Use the transform method and pass the trace dataset. Now we have the transform data view which contains the result. So I am going to convert it to the list of the result model using the create enumerable method of the data operation catalog. Pass the transform dataset and we don't want to reuse the object, so pass the false, convert to the list, loop through the each prediction, and print the original value as well as the predicted value. Update the program.cs file for this session. Save all the files and run the project. Here we got the result. You can see that most of case we got the proper prediction value. Expect a couple of records. Let's see what we have learned in this session. We see OneVersusAll is based on the binary classifier. It creates a model for each class and use the model having the highest confidence score. Here is example that we have created, in which we have loaded the data and split it, then create the binary trainer as we know it's required by the OneVersusAll method, and converted label into the keys, append the multi-class classifier and pass the binary trainer within that, then generated the model and transform the test dataset using that model, and print out the original label as well as the predicted value. Here are the models that we have created. In the input model, instead of using the 80 properties, I have created only one property that represents an array. In the load column attribute, pass the index of the column that we want to load, and use the vector type attribute to specify the length of the array. In the result model, we have inherited it from the input model, so we does not need to define the property for label here. It will automatically inherit it from the input model. See you in the next session.